Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I will suffer the same incapacity as the leader of majority that, we have not had the benefit of the report of the committee, but Senator Khalwale has attempted to shed some light on what the committee has done. First of all, allow me to comment on the question of the road maintenance levy fund. Honorable Speaker, our constitution has set out everybody's job. Everybody's job is clear in the constitution that certain classifications of road are going to be done by the county government, certain classifications are going to be done by national government. I am very proud as SG of ODM that my party leader and my party has taken a position on this question of RMLF because we are solid believers and defenders of the constitution and we believe in devolution. My party leader's position, and which is my position, is that members of the National Assembly has no business. They have no business constructing roads. And if they have a problem, the problem is not with SIFUNA. I take my instructions from my boss, my party leader. And as a senator of Nairobi, I have been charged to ensure that we defend devolution at every turn. So that even in that matter that is before the courts, I remember the chair of the Council of Governors, who also happens to be from my party, appeared before the Roads Committee, and he gave us a chronology of this fight. And in his wisdom, he had indicated that, in fact, they had tried to have conversations with the National Assembly, but those conversations never work. Because I remember when we were doing mediation on the division of revenue, the members of the National Assembly, in very condescending tones, were telling us that we, as the senators, should go and tell the governors to withdraw the case in court on RMLF. And we agreed with the chair of the Council of Governors as senators that we want that matter to be resolved by the courts once and for all. Because the law is there, the constitution is there, there is absolutely no reason why we should be fighting about this. And the most callous thing, Honorable Speaker, I have never been a member of the National Assembly, and maybe one day if I will be, maybe this, I don't want to use the word disease, but this attitude maybe will come over me, that somehow they have dissected the populations, they know the people who belong to the national government and the people who belong to the county governments. That, Honorable Speaker, it doesn't matter what prejudice the people suffer, for as long as the National Assembly does not get what it wants, then we can hold the entire thing at ransom. I remember sitting here with those members, I don't want to mention their names, but they know themselves. Honorable Speaker, they told us in no uncertain terms that if they don't get RMLF, we will not get division of revenue. And I hear that I've told Senator Khalwale's committee the same thing, that in fact, if they don't get these RMLF funds, they don't care whether CHPs are being paid. I am very happy that you are able as a committee to distinguish these things, to separate them, and let that controversy over RMLF be resolved in the courts in accordance with the law. But really, it is very callous, even for the members of the National Assembly, the 17 of them from Nairobi. I don't think that they would feel proud that CHPs, the 7,400 CHPs in Nairobi, can go without pay for all these months just because they want to continue to build roads. Honorable Speaker, I want therefore to say that we hope that that controversy is resolved. As people who understand the Constitution and people who understand devolution, we know that the Council of Governors and this Senate are on the right side. I don't think, Khalwale, we are the enemies of devolution. We have stood very firm on the floor of this House in our committees, even when we were doing mediation on division of revenue, to make it very clear to the National Assembly that, first of all, we are not enemies of the National Assembly, but we have an oath that we swore on this Constitution to defend county governments and their interests. And if the Constitution says a certain role is to be executed by the devolved units, we have a responsibility to defend that position. So when we say that it is our belief, both as a Senate, as a Senator of Nairobi, as SG of ODM, as a member of ODM, that RMLF should be fully devolved, the entire amount should go to the county governments, it is because that is what the law says. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the schedule, the first schedule, you will see that for us in Nairobi, really, we were concerned with only two issues. Number one, is, of course, that issue of the road maintenance levy. We have a budget of about 390 million Kenya shillings in the supplementary budget for 2024-2025 for maintenance of roads. Those of you who have been moving around our estates in Nairobi, and I can see the Deputy Speaker looking at me because he's not very happy with the situation of the roads in Nairobi. And I am sure all of you have problems. You go to places in Kilimani, you go to Isili, everywhere our roads are in pathetic shape. And we were hoping that this impasse is resolved because it is also acknowledged that we need the resources to be able to do these roads. And therefore, we hope that it will be resolved as soon as possible. But you can see on that schedule, the first schedule, Honorable Speaker, we have the 224 million Kenya shillings, which is sufficient to cover the stipend of 2,500 shillings for 7,464 CHPs for 12 months. And then there is an amount that has been allocated there for basic salary arrears for county government health workers. And the majority leader, when he was here, he spoke about these health workers always showing up at our gate here, Honorable Speaker. And last week, there was such an event, just before we broke for recess, and you dispatched me and the Senator for Meru to go and speak to them. And I was very happy that we are not just paying lip service. The majority leader was not here. We were very proud that as a House, under the leadership of the Speaker, specific instructions were issued to the Committee on Health to bring all those stakeholders on board to be able to have that conversation. And I was speaking that day, I was not even sure, I was not aware, Speaker, that the Committee of Health of this House, that same day, had the ministry before them, and the chair, I have not seen him, but I remember seeing on the news that they gave certain deadlines to the ministry to be able to clear arrears of salaries for these county health workers, and including, what are they called? Yes, the UHC workers. So I am very happy, Majority Leader, that as a House, there are things we are doing in order to assuage the situation there, and we are not just paying lip service. Honorable Speaker, of course, I think there was an agreement with the Judiciary, the courts, and therefore you might not find allocations of money out of court fines for Nairobi, Honorable Khalwale. But I agree with you that there needs to be greater transparency in disclosures from Treasury on amounts of money that are collected in terms of court fines originating out of enforcement of county legislation. If you look across the country, of course, Nairobi is notorious. The number of people who are arrested on a daily basis for violation of bylaws, and then even today, it is full of people who are being charged with various violations, and it is true that we need greater disclosures from Treasury on these amounts. So therefore, Speaker, with all those remarks, I will be hoping that we will have view of the report to see how the other matters have been treated, but it is very, very unfair. I honestly believe it is very unfair that we have kept counties waiting or awaiting these resources for such a long time just because of a dispute amongst leaders. At the end of the day, I remember during the mediation on DORA, we agreed on certain basic things, that number one, there doesn't exist a Kenyan who belongs to the national government and one who belongs to the county governments. And number two, most times if there is a bridge over a river that has collapsed due to floods, the ordinary user of that bridge does not care who comes to repair it or where the sources of those funds are, where the funds are going to come from. They just want the bridge repaired. So as leaders, really, we should not have a situation where a standoff between the Council of Governors and the National Assembly results in such a situation, and including the many donor-funded projects, especially because of happenings that are going on in the US, this supporting healthcare in our counties. So with those very many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to support the report of the committee, and I hope that there will be resolution on the remaining or pending matters to do with road maintenance levy fund. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm a very proud member of the Public Accounts Committee under the very able leadership of Senator Kajwang. During our meeting to adopt this particular report, we were given the definition of fiduciary risk by the Parliamentary Budget Office. Honorable Speaker, Just a cursory search of the term fiduciary risk is defined as the potential or loss that can arise when an entity fails to work in the best interest of a people, leading to misuse, mismanagement, or lack of transparency. Honorable Speaker, in that report, you will see that the cumulative fiduciary risk exposure of all the counties, the 47 counties, is 532 billion. But out of that, the fiduciary risk exposure by Nairobi County alone is 157 billion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, when we go through these reports, it brings me great shame as a senator of Nairobi to see that Nairobi is number one in all the wrong things. We are the highest when it comes to irregular expenditure at 32.5 billion Kenya shillings out of the 39.1 billion of all the counties, which is about 85 or 83%. Honorable Speaker, we are also number one when it comes to unbudgeted expenditure at 12 billion Kenya shillings in terms of fiduciary exposure. Then, of course, there is a matter of pending bills. Honorable Speaker, out of the 179 billion Kenya shillings that constitute pending bills in the 47 counties, 65% of that, or 118 billion Kenya shillings, is the fiduciary exposure in the county of Nairobi. And we have gotten to a place, Honorable Speaker, listening to these entities, to the Auditor General appearing before our committee, we now need to know what the next steps are. I want the people of Nairobi to understand that even though the Constitution says that Parliament shall look at the reports of the Auditor General, we rely on other institutions to be able to take action. In the committee that I sit in, we have recommended prosecution of officers in over 150 cases, and we have had occasion to sit with the EACC and ask them to give us the reports about these investigations, Honorable Speaker. We have had officers from the DCI. We have made recommendations for prosecution of people. We have made recommendations to professional bodies like the ISPAC that regulates accountants, even lawyers who give wrong information or wrong advice to their executives, or even who collude with their departments to steal money through legal fees. Honorable Speaker, we need all these institutions now to come to the rescue of our counties. Even if you look at the total exposure on stalled projects, Nairobi is again number one. I want this Senate to help us in Nairobi, because if devolution works in Nairobi, it will work elsewhere. Honorable Speaker, I thank you.